The foot is already rising. Dust shifts beneath the elephant's weight, fine and pale, trembling before it settles again. The man on the ground does not struggle. His chest lifts in shallow pulls of breath, rope cutting into his wrists, shoulders locked by guards who have already stepped back. Heat presses down from the courtyard walls, trapping the smell of sweat, leather, and animal musk. The elephant's shadow covers him entirely. In the court of Emperor Jahangir, this was not spectacle alone. It was judgment made visible. The animal stands steady, trunk coiled, tusks fitted with iron, bronze plate strapped across its brow. The mahout leans forward on the beast's neck, bare toes pressing into thick hide, the iron hook resting loosely in his hand. He does not shout, he barely moves. The order has already been given. Across the stone courtyard of Agra, officials in silk and soldiers in quilted armor watch without speaking. The condemned man had once collected taxes along the Yamuna River. Now his ribs are visible, rising and falling beneath skin that shines with dust and fear. A rumor later spread through the bazaars that he had stolen from the imperial treasury itself. Palace servants whispered that he had mocked the emperor's authority during a drunken feast. Yet records kept by scribes in Lahore suggest only a failed levy and unrest among farmers. What cannot be disputed is that he lies beneath an elephant trained for obedience. The foot descends slowly, not crushing, not yet. It presses against the man's chest with deliberate weight. Bones resist, muscles tighten in reflex. A sound escapes him, low and wet, forced from lungs that cannot expand. The mahout adjusts his heel slightly behind the elephant's ear. Pressure increases. In Delhi, it was said that imperial elephants could tear a man apart in moments, ripping limbs with tusks sharpened for war. Foreign travelers described executions where a single command ended life instantly. But in this courtyard, the process unfolds without haste. The elephant knows the difference between killing and holding. The ribs begin to give. A crack, soft but distinct, carries across stone. The man's back arches, mouth open, breath collapsing into a thin hiss. Blood does not spill outward at first. It gathers inside, beneath skin, beneath bone. The court official in green silk watches with unreadable eyes, hands folded at his waist. He has seen this before. Elephants were not merely beasts of burden in the Mughal Empire. They were instruments of state. Brought from forests near Bengal, trained in enclosures along the Ganges, conditioned to respond to the pressure of heel and iron hook. Chroniclers from Isfahan wrote that such animals could execute traitors with precision, crushing skulls without touching the face. Other accounts insist they sometimes refused, lifting their feet and stepping aside. That hesitation became legend among prisoners who prayed for mercy in the animal rather than the throne. The mahout tilts the hook slightly. The weight shifts forward. This time the elephant does not pause. The sternum collapses beneath the full mass of muscle and bone. The sound is heavier now, unmistakable. Air leaves the body in a final rush, mingled with blood forced up the throat. Dust darkens where it settles. The man's limbs twitch once, then fall still. He dies without ceremony. Silence spreads wider than the courtyard walls. It is said in Agra that Emperor Jahangir preferred measured punishment. Some whispered that he watched from behind carved screens, studying the discipline of the animal more than the suffering of the condemned. Yet historians argue that many such stories grew in the telling, shaped by European visitors eager to portray Eastern courts as exotic and cruel. The true record shows that execution by elephant existed long before Jahangir's reign, practiced in parts of India and Southeast Asia as both deterrent and display of sovereign control. What lingers is not the emperor's gaze, but the animal's obedience. In the weeks that follow, word travels beyond Agra, along caravan routes toward Kabul and downriver toward Bengal. Merchants recount the execution with differing detail. Some swear the man begged for mercy until his lungs burst. Others claim he faced the elephant without sound, daring the empire to crush him. In taverns near the Red Fort, soldiers repeat a different tale entirely, insisting the elephant hesitated, as if sensing innocence. One chronicler in Lahore records the event in careful Persian script, noting only the crime and the sentence carried out. Another account, found years later, adds that the elephant had been starved before the execution to make it more compliant. Modern scholars dismiss this as embellishment. Training, not hunger, forged such control. Still, the image of a restless, half-starved beast enters the imagination of the people. Fear rarely needs precision. By the next season, another man stands in the same courtyard, this one accused of rebellion in the Deccan. The elephant bears fresh scars from battle, one tusk chipped, bronze plate newly polished. The mahout remains the same, his beard slightly grayer. The method differs. Instead of crushing the chest, the elephant uses its trunk. At a subtle command, it wraps the muscular limb around the prisoner's waist, lifting him from the ground. The crowd gasps despite themselves. The body dangles briefly against the bright sky before being flung down upon the stone. Bones shatter on impact. Before breath can return, the elephant's foot descends upon the skull. It ends faster this time. Travelers from the Portuguese settlements on the western coast later describe these executions in letters sent to Lisbon. They write of elephants trained to prolong agony or grant swift death at imperial whim. Some exaggerate the cruelty, painting scenes of deliberate dismemberment. Others confess a reluctant admiration for the discipline of the animal. In their telling, the empire's power resides not in sword or musket, but in the silent coordination between man and beast. Back in Agra, the courtyard stones grow darker with repeated stain. Scrubbing does little. Heat bakes what cannot be washed away. Children of palace workers avoid the place at dusk, claiming they hear breathing beneath the ground. A stable boy swears he saw one elephant refuse to step forward, eyes wet, trunk recoiling as if from unseen fire. His story spreads quickly, then fades under the weight of routine. There is no monument to those crushed. Only the elephants endure. Years pass, Jahangir dies. Shah Jahan builds marble that gleams white against the sky. Yet within the empire's memory, the method remains. In provincial courts far from Agra, local rulers adopt the practice, sometimes altering it. In parts of southern India, records suggest criminals were tied to stakes before elephants trampled them. In Ceylon, accounts describe condemned men whose limbs were severed before the final crushing blow. Some of these reports conflict, colored by distance and fear. At least one respected historian argues that the most grotesque versions were likely magnified by colonial observers seeking justification for conquest. What persists is simpler. The weight of an elephant does not lie. Even as firearms grow more common and European influence spreads along the coasts, the image of death beneath an elephant's foot continues to circulate in drawings and travelogues. It becomes emblem and warning, a symbol of a justice that is both ancient and deliberate. In markets from Lahore to Surat, mothers quiet unruly children with threats of imperial elephants. The method survives longer in story than in practice. But stories have weight of their own. Long after the courtyard stones cool and the mahout is buried beneath unmarked earth, the training continues in smaller kingdoms. A British officer stationed in the early 19th century notes with surprise that an elephant obeyed commands to maim rather than kill. He writes of it as barbaric, yet his own regiment conducts public hangings with equal intention. The record remains uneasy, divided between condemnation and fascination. One final rumor endures among handlers in the forests near Assam. They claim that elephants remember every execution, that the animals grow restless at the scent of blood, that they dream of the bodies once pressed beneath their feet. No archive confirms this, no court document records such belief. Yet even now, among those who work closest to them, the idea persists that the animal understands more than the empire ever intended. The courtyard is empty now. Wind moves across stone once warmed by blood and sun. The empire that commanded such obedience has fractured into memory. Marble domes remain, red sandstone walls still stand, but the sound of ribs breaking has faded into distant echo. Or perhaps it has not, because power does not vanish when the throne falls. It changes form. It hides in institutions, in uniforms, in rituals repeated without question. The elephant was only the visible weight. The greater force was the hand that guided it, the authority that decided when the foot would descend and when it would pause. And somewhere in the long shadow of history, beneath monuments built to outlast flesh, one question remains heavier than the animal itself. When obedience becomes perfect, who truly bears the weight of the crush?